You're listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I am your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
I am thrilled. Did you know that I played the lottery tonight?
Did you win?
Yeah, I won.
Oh, there you go.
Won the number 1 draft pick for my San Antonio Spurs.
Oh gosh.
You're not excited for me?
No.
Why not?
I'm not a Spurs fan, man.
The Wembanyama Rama. We won. We did it, guys. I'm pretty excited. I will have to say I had to look up who this guy is.
So you're excited about winning the lottery to draft this guy, but you don't even know who he is.
No, I don't. He's a 7 foot. It's disputed. 7'2" or 3 or 4 or 5 power forward. Plays overseas somewhere. Where does he play? I don't even know. But yeah, I've talked about this before. My interest in the Spurs has fallen off. I'm going to mostly blame regional sports networks, but also the team itself has just tanked. But it paid off, maybe, hopefully. We'll see. Getting the number 1 pick. And who knows, maybe with the number 1 pick, they might actually land on a TV channel that I get. And also, there's a lot of hubbub about Bally Sports maybe going under.
Please.
Which would,
Can I root for a media company to just completely go under more than Bally?
As a Rangers fan, you are cursed as well. So you're not able to really watch the Rangers unless you have one of the 2 methods you can get Bally Sports, which is paying them $30 a month to stream it, or getting DirecTV.
No, I don't want DirecTV.
No, I'm not going to pay $30 to stream something.
But so I didn't want Bally Sports yesterday to watch the Braves absolutely demolish the Rangers. What was it, 12-0? Rangers bounced back tonight though, 7-4. So that would have been fun to see.
Bad.
Speaking of the Rangers, I just want to throw this out there real quick.
Yeah,
love the Rangers.
Pro sports.
Love that they're relevant May 16th. They're probably ahead of schedule and being competitive and relevant. But this is not their year, and it certainly is not, looking up for them losing DeGrom, because he's probably done, and he's not coming back this year. And that was the risk you're going to take when you signed him. But Eovaldi, dude's been lights out. And he and Spencer Strider are locking up tomorrow. So if you don't know, Eovaldi's got like 28, 29 scoreless innings pitched, like consecutive innings pitched. And Strider is leading at least the NL, if not all of Major League Baseball in strikeouts. So Strider will go for the Braves. Eovaldi will go for the Rangers. I mean, it could be Hublink's first tomorrow, which would be just a fantastic game. I wish I could see it. Is it going to be on any other platform? No, it will not. So there you go. Yeah, tomorrow will be Spencer Strider going for the Braves, Nathan Eovaldi going for the Rangers. Between them, Strider's 4-1, Eovaldi's 5-2. Anyways, it's going to be a great pitching matchup that no one will be able to see if they don't have the streaming rights through Bally or whatever. Texas Tech baseball, Michael. We'll talk about that tonight. They played some games this weekend. They won one, and it was much more impactful to the RPI than I would have expected it to be.
Yeah. Wow.
Huge. You took the game on Friday, jumped up to 41st in RPI, and I don't get too far into it. And then you lost Saturday and Sunday, but that even losing Saturday and Sunday, I think you maintained the 41st spot. So whereas when you were in the 58, when you're at 58th last week, you were on the outside or on the very edge looking in. 41st, you're probably pretty solid there as a 3 seed. You got your work cut out for you. You still got to win this weekend against Kansas. But that certainly helped getting that one win on the road versus West Virginia, which we'll talk about that series and our thoughts more on that here in a little bit. We'll look at basketball. There has, unsurprising, because the quiet period that we talked about last week closes Wednesday the 17th. You're still seeing some recruiting. I said that rude. Recruiting momentum, because you did get a transfer commit from Arizona State, Warren Washington, which we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Dead period begins on the 18th, which is no contact with recruits. That's when I would expect possibly some movement on the staff. I saw this from Ryan Mainville on Twitter, and I was like, what an excellent connection. He said this staff announcement may be an indication of how McCasland just run things in general. And he's like, and look at like the offense he puts on the floor. It's slow. It's methodical. It may be slower than you or I want it to be, but it is effective and efficient in his own manner.
Yes, undeniably effective.
From everything we've heard about the strings he's able to maneuver without having a full staff, like, it's very intentional that there has not been an announcement yet made. And he's been putting all that after the commitment from Washington. I think you've got like 2 or 3 spots left. You've got some recruiting periods that will open up over the summer. And you know, we saw the past few years, you've definitely picked up some meaningful commits and transfers and all that kind of stuff over the summer, heading into the season. So it's not like you're in trouble right now without having a completed roster. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Football, we were talking before we hit start tonight. There have been some way too soon, way too early, like over under win predictions given out. There was a New Year's 6 projection from one of the big football sports media guys, and I can't remember his name, which is whatever. It
Brett
had
McHenry or something like that.
McMurphy.
There it is.
Yeah, he had Tech in Alabama clashing in the Cotton Bowl, which would be something. Bammer. We'll get to some questions. A question that Michael and I will have to wrestle with about which 2 Texas staples we'll get to stay, and 7 of them get the axe. And then what do we learn? We got lots to talk about. Behind the dish, Little League season's coming to a close. Going Yard, I've got some growth updates. Evermore, if you haven't heard of it yet, I want to tell you about it. And then Michael's got some hot takes on old fashions.
Yeah, some cocktail takes, cocktail dreams.
So before we get into all that, though, we need to remind you, if you aren't already, if you listen to this, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we stream these episodes each Tuesday evening about 9:30 by the time that we hit live, once we get everything rolling. Tuesday nights, you can hang out with us. You can follow us on social, 23 at 23 personnel on Twitter, at punts suck, and at Michael_LBK. And if you, again, haven't yet already dialed the radio dial up or down to find out all the other great productions within the Stake in the Plains network, check them out. Gambling Gauchos, Seeing Scarlet, Red Raider Dugout, Dinger Derby. I would always combine those two names. Great things are found over on the Stake in the Plains network, even on stakeintheplains.com. So go check that out. Go check out the other shows. You'll find Gambling Gauchos actually right now a part of the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football feed, not on the Gambling Gauchos feed, but you'll need to check that out. Otherwise, everywhere else in your podcasting space of choice. With that, Michael, are you ready to start talking about baseball? Texas Tech baseball.
Let's talk some baseball.
Left field, well struck. Desloney picks it up on a bounce. He's racing for second. Throw! Out in second!
Young lifts it to right field, looking for a second home run, and he's got it into his own bullpen.
Reps and some time because all the tools are there.
Wow, this one launched deep left off the bat of Warren and into the bleachers. There he goes. And the pitch is driven deep to right. Kjerstad to the wall. Off the top of the fence. Here comes the big fella. Cameron Warren's going to motor home from first. Throw to third is late. And the Red Raiders have reclaimed the lead. Popped up. Trevor Boone. Back. It's more than a pop-up. It's a big fly. Tuck takes the lead. Levick and leave it. Texas Tech can start packing for Omaha.
All right. Not yet packing for Omaha. Got one more regular season conference series left to play this weekend, hosting the Kansas Jayhawks. Not as woeful in baseball as they are in football, but an opponent you should be looking to win this series handily, possibly even sweep. I say that your Sunday struggles are real. Your starting pitching, your pitching struggles are real across the board. Let's not beat around that bush. But this weekend, you didn't get swept, and that was huge.
Yeah. Yes.
You went on the road. We talked about this a little bit. You took one game versus West Virginia, jumped 17 spots in the RPI, and then held true as you did end up losing the series, only your third of the season. You are now 35-18, 10-11 this year, but sixth in the Big 12, behind West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Texas, Kansas State. TCU snuck ahead of you, and then Texas Tech at 6, Oklahoma at 7, Kansas at 8, Baylor at 9. So again, this is a great opportunity. 6 versus 8, but it's not a very close 6 versus 8. Got a great chance. This past weekend, like I said, you took the game on Friday. And I just totally blanked.
Well, I thought it was like 5-2 or something.
Yeah, it was 5-2. You put up 2 runs in the ninth.
Yeah.
You had a 3-2 lead. It was a close game. You had it was close, and you scored 2 there late. A couple insurance runs. Before we get into games, actually, real quickly, having had to endure so many home broadcasts that have been repackaged as ESPN Plus broadcasts, the West Virginia production actually fairly solid.
I thought
The-
so too. What I was able to catch.
The
'Cause most
play-by-play
of
guy,
it was radio.
yeah, the play-by-play guy had some oddness to him. Like he wanted you to know that he called Major League Baseball games before, and that he worked in all kinds of Major League games, and that he was a Major League broadcaster, and brought up the fact that he was a baseball announcer for Major League Baseball as many times as he could. But like as kind of irritating and eye roll worthy as that was, every time he mentioned that, the professionalism was there though. Like he got up for times when Texas Tech was doing things good for Texas Tech. It wasn't like he was groaning like
Right.
Holiday does on the Oklahoma State broadcast, or like I did
Those
on
are
the
bad.
Lubbock High broadcast this year. I did it for it was supposed to be that way. They have their own, anyways. The only thing that I didn't like, and this was not even a thing on the guys that were the talent on air. It was more on the production side, which if it's like what they do at Texas Tech, that kind of falls down to like even students. They had graphics that would come up for the batters that it felt like flashed and were off the screen way too soon. And if that's my biggest complaint, like they did a really good job, because like I said, the talent on air, besides the fact that he plugged that he was a part of the Major League broadcast for so many years, it seemed fair. Even like you put yourself in the mind, like he does West Virginia home, like he's their home broadcast guy, right? So with that perspective, they did a really good job on the ESPN Plus broadcast. I really just wished that the graphics had stayed on the screen, because they had good stuff on there. And it was like, I just wish, like, because it was, they would take it off when they changed camera angles. I was like, if you just like kind of held that over and had it on screen for a couple extra seconds, you'd be able to read it for one. But not unenjoyable to take in besides the result, especially on
sure.
Saturday when you got
Ooh.
just walloped. Anyways, the game on Friday, West Virginia jumps out to 2-0 lead in the bottom of the second. You take one back in the third, and then you put up two of your own in the fourth, and then it's scoreless until the top of the ninth. It was a 3-2 game from the top of the fourth until the top of the ninth. You had a bunch of really good defensive holds, basically, if you will, until the ninth. Ben Hampton went for West Virginia. You went with Mason Molina to start. The West Virginia pitching staff and bullpen, like I don't know if I would say like I would do a straight swap. I just want their guys, but when they came in, their guys pitched a lot of innings.
Yeah.
So
no kidding.
Mason Molina got the start for Texas Tech, went 4 2/3, 3 hits, 2 runs. Their starter, Ben Hampton, this was only his second loss on the season. He went 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 earns. Then they had Aiden Major come in for West Virginia, who went 4 innings. So they only used 2 pitchers. He gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earns, and those were the 2 runs he gave up were in the top of the ninth. After Molina, Ethan Coombs came in, threw 6 pitches, recorded an out, and then it was 4 complete innings from Brandon Beckel, who gave up only 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. As dominant as those numbers sound, there were times when it was a little iffy. But he shut the door, got his career-long appearance for Texas Tech, went 4 full innings, 66 pitches thrown, which I think is also a career high for him. But gets the 4-inning save. It's his 5th on the season. Like I said, huge to get the win there. The scoring started, like I said, for Texas Tech in the third when Hester doubled in Ty Coleman. Kevin Bazell hits a home run in the fourth. He had one that was iffy earlier in the game, but they didn't have a great angle on a replay review it. It was over the foul pole or maybe just left it, but even in major leagues, like we need to figure out like a great way to have better camera angles on balls around the foul pole. Same thing with like field goals. Like we need to figure out a way to get a camera on the upright somewhere so we can see if the ball goes like over the upright or if it goes around. Because I think back to that Oklahoma game, Oklahoma football game in the season, right? They kicked the field goal in overtime that where it hit the net was inside the uprights. Did it go around the pole? Did it go over? You didn't have a great angle. The guy under it said it was out, which is the best you're going to get is the view of one guy and no cameras to back it up. I think there are ways that we can address that otherwise. Anyways, Kevin Bazell hits what should have been his second home run of the game, but hits his first home run of the game in the fourth. And then a little bit later that inning, Ty Coleman grounds out to short, but scores Gavin Cash. That gives you the lead there, 3-2. And then the top of the ninth, you get Ty Coleman on, Dylan Carter on, and then Austin Green hits a huge 2 RBI double to take the 5-2 lead to win it. Unfortunately, all that did was light a fire under Mountaineers because they came back with a vengeance on Saturday. You had Trenton Parrish get the start for you going up against their ace, who we talked about last week. In my opinion, should have been out this weekend with his ejection last weekend. But rules aren't applied fairly in this conference. Blaine Trexel for the Mountaineers goes 8 full innings, which again, going back to what I was talking about, and when their pitchers came in, they just stayed up there forever. It felt like. So he went 8 innings, gave up 6 hits, 2 runs. Both of those were earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts through 115 pitches. The thing that was wild about Trexel is maybe why he's so effective. I've never seen a pitcher alter his delivery as much as he did. Because there were times, I don't know if you're able to watch the game, Michael, there were times like he was throwing, like his arm angle was over the top, like it was just coming over like you would normally expect a pitcher to come in. And then sometimes he would drop down and throw almost like a sidearm submarine style pitch. Like having to deal with that on a pitch to pitch basis, not easy.
That doesn't sound very common. Usually they just pick one.
Right, because usually, like if you're going to be a power arm over the top, you're going to rely on that. You're going to keep your mechanics the same. And I joked about this in the Discord, like that's got to be like a pitching coach's nightmare to have a guy that just like bounces back and forth between whatever mechanic he's going to like. We're going to go over the top. We're going to go sidearm, 3/4, submarine. And it wasn't like he threw one pitch out of a certain arm. It's like he threw a fastball overhand and then he threw a fastball from the side. It was like, yeah, that's not easy to contend with.
It's fun just even going through because I went to his stats page and the photos that they have at the top of his page, he's in a different windup in half of them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's it's obvious like, okay, that one he actually threw over his shoulder. This one he's about to sidearm the heck out of this one. This one it looks like he's punching someone in the gut. I mean, all of the photos just flashing through you have no idea what you're going to get. So I mean, you're right to have that somebody like that face you. That's going to make it tough.
Also, he's listed at 5'10". Yeah, right. Like, and he could have been walking up now. Like there were times when like he was coming off the mound and he would always walk next to some guy. And I couldn't tell you who it was because he was coming out of the dugout to meet the team as they were coming off the field. If Blaine Trexel is 5'10", that dude had to be 7'5", 7'6". Like he towered over Trexel. Like Trexel's got like this little beta dude, 5'2". He's not 5'2", but he definitely does not. He was not 5'10". Texas Tech.
Well, I mean, I think 200 pounds is probably a little light too. 5'10".
That's what I'm saying. Like that 200 is probably on the low end. The 5'10 is on the high end. He and Ty Coleman were probably closer in size, at least in height, than their listed heights would suggest.
I've talked about this before, but that's one of my fascinations about baseball is the sheer difference in size, height, weight, athleticism of the athletes. It is across the board. It's fantastic. I love that you have guys that are 6'7" playing next to guys that are 5'7".
Yeah,
go Yankees.
And it's not like we're in football. Like you look at somebody like that guy's not going to work out like that. You look at him, you're like, he's too big, he's too small, or whatever. Like this very defined, like you've got like this Goldilocks range of athlete. Where in baseball, like you're saying, like look at Dylan Maxey for Texas Tech. Dude is small. Gavin Cash is not really all that like built, but these dudes can mash for power. Like you don't need an Aaron Judge body.
Well, yeah, Barrelson can get him.
Yeah,
Get him
he's
out there.
he's a little dude.
The bases too. Yeah, I mean it's baseball is such an equalizer. It's so much about technique. And yes, there are times where your height is an advantage. I'm sure you want a tall first baseman a lot of the time, or you may not want a 6'7" catcher, and a 6'7" guy would not want to be a catcher.
Yeah, that'd be tough on the
there's
knees.
there's just not a ton of that. It's probably, if you're tall, pitchers probably don't like tall batters.
No, and they don't
maybe like short batters either.
It's a huge zone. The short batters have a tiny zone.
That's true. So I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's a really great equalizer. That's all. I completely went off on a tangent.
It's fine.
Related to anything.
So Saturday,
Interesting.
You started Trinity Parrish. He takes the loss, falls to 3-2. He only went 3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 8 runs. All 8 of those were earned. 4 walks, 3 strikeouts on 81 pitches. There was a stretch there when I was watching it. He threw. You know what? This may be on Sunday. I'm losing track. There was a time when there was 10 straight balls. So it was 2.5 walks basically, where the batter didn't even move the bat. And when those happened, you loaded the bases and then walked in 2 runs to do it. Andrew Devine comes in, goes 2 innings, 3 hits, 5 runs. All 5 of those were earned on 4 walks. Brennan Girton comes in to finish out 3 innings, 3 hits, 4 runs, all 4 of those earned, and 4 strikeouts. So Parrish had 4 walks and a hit by pitch. Andrew Devine had 4 walks. Girton had no walks but a hit by pitch. So you had 8 walks, 2 hit batsmen. If I can get the plural in the right spot. 10 free base runners to a team that then put up 17 runs on you. West Virginia, 1 in the first, 4 in the second, 3 in the third, 3 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 4 in the seventh. You didn't score until the 7th, so you finally got onto Blaine Traxel in the 7th, 1 more in the 8th, because he went, like I said, 8 innings. Yeah, it's a day to forget. Sunday, more like the Friday game. You scored 1 in the first, 1 in the second, so you took a 2-0 lead. West Virginia scored 1 in the second, 1 in the third, so they tied it. You took the lead again in the 4th with a single run. West Virginia tied at the bottom of the 5th, 3-all, and then they put up 2 more in the bottom of the 6th to win the game 5-3. On Sunday, you started Zane Petty, and you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different guys on the mound. And that's kind of what you expect on Sunday. at least with what you've seen recently. Zane Petty went 2 full innings, 2 hits, 1 run. Ryan Free, 3 full innings, 3 hits, 2 runs. Josh Sanders, he gets the loss on his just 1 inning of work, 2 hits, 2 runs. Jacob Rogers went 2 full innings. Sorry, a full inning, 2 hits. Derek Bridges came in. Blows my mind, dude. All right. These last 3 pitchers, Michael. Well, no, these last 4 pitchers. So Jacob Rogers, a full inning. So he records 3 outs and 2 hits. So he faced 4 batters. But 3 outs, 2 hits through 9 pitches. Just really efficient with his pitches.
Yes.
Obviously, you got a double play in there when you give up 2 hits, but record 3 outs on 4 batters. Derek Bridges, 1 pitch. Ethan Coombs, 4 pitches. Kyle Robinson gets 2/3 of an inning. He gets a double play on 1 pitch. He came in through 1 pitch and gets 2/3 of an inning. So the last 5 batters, the last 4 pitchers combined for 15 pitches. That's it. Josh Sanders, who went a full inning, went 16. So he went 16, and then the next 4 after him combined for 15 pitches.
What do you think why?
Well, so I brought that up, and I was like, because I kind of scoffed at why is Derek Bridges only facing 1 guy at a time? And kind of comically, like he's come in and thrown like 1 pitch and then been pulled. And what I got from Keith was he's a lefty specialist. He's coming in to face 1 guy or 1 spot in the lineup or a particular spot in the lineup. And then they get that result, whether it's a hit, walk, out, or whatever, and they move on. And like he's coming in for 1 guy, which is something that you've seen addressed in the major leagues, that they don't like that. They've actually legislated that out of the game. Like a pitcher comes in and has to face 3 guys unless he gets injured. That's not the case in college right now. You can come in like Derek Bridges, throw 1 pitch, and then get replaced. Ethan Coombs came in, threw a 4-pitch walk, and then got replaced. Kyle Robinson comes in, throws 1 pitch, gets double play, ends the game. So you end up losing this game. It didn't end the game. That ended the bottom of the 8th, and then you came up and then went scoreless in the top of the 9th. But you definitely bounced back from the Saturday performance. You got the win on Friday. You had a shot there on Sunday. There were times when it felt like you were in it. There were times it felt like you weren't on Sunday. Just as wild as it is to say, like, it felt like you were out of it in a 2-run game. But with that, like I said, you maintained 41st in the RPI, which is huge for your postseason hopes. West Virginia is probably pretty solidly set to host their own regional, which could be fun for them. You've got 1 more series upcoming. Kansas, they are 23-28, 7-14 in Big 12 play, 8th in the conference, 111th in the RPI. They did just lose a road series to Samford. They lost 2 games of their 3-game set, and they are 2nd place in the Southern Conference. This week you will play Thursday, Friday, Saturday to get ready for the Big 12 tournament, which will start next Wednesday, I believe, in Arlington, of all places.
Yeah. Is that pretty recent?
Yeah, so this will be the first year they've not played it in Oklahoma in quite some time.
Will it be where the Rangers play?
Yes,
Okay.
in Big Globe Life.
Well,
Yeah, May
so-
24th through the 28th. So a week from tomorrow. So Wednesday, week from Wednesday.
So
And
I
then
wanted
look
to
at
run
this.
through the what? What do you got?
I was gonna say I'm on the Kansas baseball schedule. Bless their hearts. They've got the regionals on their schedule. They've got the super regionals and they've got the World Series on their schedule. As if they were going to make it. Regionals, June 2nd through the 5th, super regionals the 9th through the 12th, and then the World Series the 16th through the 26th.
Well, it seemed like a good thing when they posted the schedule in September or whatever. Yeah, I wanted to see what we don't have. There's not a lot of great scenarios for Tech to move up in the Big 12 standings. I just kind of wanted to briefly run through that. So, Tech is 10 and 11 in the Big 12. They're one game behind TCU, who's 11 and 10. 2 games behind Kansas State at 12 and 9. So TCU and Kansas State play each other in a series this weekend. And so
Yeah.
if I'm
So 4 and
thinking-
5.
Right. So the 4 and 5 play each other. What do we want in that outcome, Spencer? Do we want, because Texas Tech won, they beat TCU. And they didn't beat Kansas State though. They lost the Kansas State series, right?
Right.
Okay. So
with
we
the
need
with the
Kansas State to sweep. Would that help? And Texas Tech to sweep?
yeah,
No,
because
no.
you're not jumping all the way up into 4th. If you were to sweep this weekend, you would end up 13 and 11.
Right.
If TCU wins the series, they would be 13 and 11. Kansas State would be 13 and 11. And I guess Texas, who are they playing? They're playing West
Playing
Virginia.
West Virginia, yeah. So I feel like that's kind of out of
But if West Virginia wins that series 2-1, you could have 4 teams, maybe even Oklahoma, if they sweep. Who are they playing? Oklahoma State. Ooh, that'd be a tall task. Okay, if Oklahoma State sweeps, if Texas Tech sweeps, if TCU wins the series 2-1, West Virginia wins 2-1, you will have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-way tie for second place. You'll have 6 teams at 13 and 11.
Let's hope that happens because that just sounds fun.
Basically, everybody besides Kansas and Baylor are out of it. West Virginia is too far ahead for anything to matter, except for Texas, Kansas, or Oklahoma State, Texas, and Kansas State are all within striking distance. Texas would need to sweep then they would tie West Virginia in the standings, but they would probably take, if they do a head-to-head as a tiebreaker, they would move into first. Oklahoma State needs a series victory over Oklahoma, which isn't that part of the question. They need 2 games this weekend to tie them. Well, assuming that West Virginia, if West Virginia is swept, Oklahoma State then needs 2 games to tie, 3 to take the lead. So Oklahoma State could win the conference, but they need Texas to win the series, and then they need to sweep the Sooners. Texas can only tie West Virginia, and then they would just need Oklahoma State to win. They need Oklahoma to win a game. But like I said, if Oklahoma sweeps, if Texas wins the series, it doesn't sweep. But if they win, if West Virginia wins the series but doesn't sweep, if TCU wins the series, and if Texas Tech sweeps, you'll have 6 teams at 13 and 11.
I'm taking a screenshot of this of the standings right now because it's so interesting to me how close it is and how much can potentially. Now, a lot of the scenarios that you mentioned and I mentioned are probably kind of not very possible, but anything can happen. Anything can happen this last week. We don't know.
Hey, it could happen.
Yeah. It could happen. We landed on the moon.
Did we? I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I wanted to go just long enough to see if I could get him. I got him. I got him, folks. Okay, so going back to the Kansas baseball really quickly. Obviously, as the 8th team in the conference, they're not good. But let's give you a little bit more than just they're not good. So, I mean, obviously they're under 500 in their overall record. They're under 500 in Big 12 play. Their stats page is loading like 2 lines at a time. That's fun. They lost their best player, Maui Ahuna, if I'm remembering that correctly. He transferred to Tennessee. There it goes. Finally loaded.
Yeah, he
Sam
was batting
Hunt,
like 400 something last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was
Something
on fire.
crazy.
It was one of those things where like, how did you end up at Kansas? And then he transfers after the season. Like, okay,
There you
understand.
Got it.
They have a guy batting at almost 400, 390. Cody Shojinaga, 390. OPS is 993. Played in 47 of their 51 games with 40 starts. Slugging 558, on base of 435. Chase Jans 333, and then Michael Brooks, the only other batter over 300 at 301. They do have a guy at 297. But as a team, they are batting 282. Opponents are batting 282 against them. And I mentioned Texas Tech transfer Sam Hunt is playing for the Jayhawks. Not doing super hot at the plate. Only appeared in 25 games with 15 starts for the Jayhawks, but 217, OPS of 623, has 5 RBIs on the season, 2 doubles, only 12 total bases on 10 hits. On the pitching side, it's organized so oddly. They've got a handful of starters. You'll see this weekend. Colin Baumgartner, 13 games played with 13 starts. He is 5-1 on the season with a 3.95 ERA. These are season stats, not just conference stats, because they don't have that availability on their website right now. It's just overall. 3.95 ERA on the season, 134 WHIP. Sam Ireland, also with 13 starts, 6.64 ERA, 151 WHIP. He's done that over 62 in a third inning, where Baumgartner's done that over 70 innings. Batting averages for both those guys are pretty high, though. Baumgartner 262, Ireland 282. Thaniel Trumper, which I think is a great name. Thaniel is a guy that's coming out of the bullpen, but he's like their main guy of the bullpen. He's the third most innings pitched, and he has no starts on the season. 52 innings pitched, 4.50 ERA, 1.25 WHIP. The lowest batting average that their pitching staff allows, 211, which is not bad, but it's not great. They have, as a staff, this is including everybody, have a combined ERA of 6.02, given up 484 hits on the year, given up 56 home runs, 24 doubles. 100 doubles, 24 triples. 282 batting average against, whereas with Texas Tech, let me pull that up real quick and I'll give you some comparison there. We haven't seen it. And it's been this way across the entire conference, but the pitching stats are a little bit better. Texas Tech overall ERA for the team combined ERA is a 5.06. 155 whip, giving up 104 doubles. So Kansas has given up 100 doubles. We've given up more doubles. 12 triples where Kansas has given up 24, and then 56 home runs where we've given up 60. Our opponent's batting average is 258. Theirs is 282. That's a pretty big jump. Even so, considering our struggles from the mound this year, they've had it just a little bit worse. Those are overall numbers. In conference play, our pitchers have a 6.63 ERA. Like I said, we can't get those numbers for Kansas, but giving up 47 doubles, 6 triples, 31 home runs, opponent batting average of 272.
So do you anticipate this being? Are these going to be like some 9 to 11 games? Some, what's this going to be? 10 to 13? What are we looking at this weekend? Do you think Tech's going to be able to take advantage of this pitching staff and or be taken advantage of themselves? I mean, it doesn't look like Kansas has a lot of guys that can really hit the ball. Like you said, there's the one guy that hits 297, but there's only 4 guys that are in the 300 or above range. But just judging by how the pitching has gone, I just don't know if it's going to not necessarily turn out that way. They might be able to get something going.
So looking at their schedule, it's strange. Like Kansas isn't as you would think. Looking at the results, isn't as bad as they would appear on paper. Because I want to show you this real quick. They lost. They were swept in their series versus TCU. They scored 6 runs in the first. They lost the first game 8-6, then lost the second game 18-5, and then lost the third game 14-0. They bounced back and then swept Baylor 12-4, 13-6, and then 5-4. They beat they took the series victory versus West Virginia 5-3, 10-7, then lost the Sunday game 12-3. Swept by Kansas State 4-5, 1-6, and then 18-21. They lost, combined over 3 games, 8 runs, including a game where there was 39 runs scored total.
Yeah, I was seeing a lot of that. The ERA, there's pitchers average 6.02 ERA and opponents 6.23.
Mm-hmm.
Batting average, average 339 runs, opponents 334. They've hit more runs than their opponents, yet they still have a 500 record.
Yeah, and I don't have the schedule home and away up. I don't know if they're just as bad as we are on the road. But that's score one for you this weekend because you're playing at home. You got, like I said, swept by Kansas State, swept by Oklahoma State, 15-10, 14-3, 8-3. Lost the series to Oklahoma 8-2. So they won the first game 8-2, then lost 11-6, 7-4. Lost the series to Texas. They won the first game 10-4, then lost 6-2, 7-6. And then they've got Texas Tech last.
Yeah, they are 7-15 on true away games,
and
which is almost their conference records. Conference record 7-14. So that's probably pretty much.
And at least for away game, and this is not an away game for Texas Tech. Texas Tech is 6-10. We are 28-6 at home. Nobody has won more home games than Texas Tech has this year. Just put that out there.
Okay. I'm just kind of putting a little devil's advocate here.
So yeah, I mean, going back to your question, like, is this going to be a win the games 3-1, 2-4? No, like it's probably going to be like 10-7, 11-10. Squeak one out there, whatever. Walk off on Saturday. No, let's have the walk off win on Sunday, where you get the sweep on Sunday with the walk off. That would be fantastic. But yeah, it's probably gonna take a little bit more runs than you would think playing the eighth team in the conference. But certainly a series and games that are winnable. They're there for you, and you need them. Obviously, with the RPI of Kansas 111th, beating them is not going to do any favors. Losing is going to destroy anything that you did this past weekend. So, the only other thing I want to talk about with baseball before we move on, Michael, it was announced tonight, was released tonight, that the entire baseball team, each player on the baseball team signed 5-figure NIL deals with the Matador Club. Fantastic news for all of them. They got,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's exactly 10,000 or how it's work out, but they are getting a little scratch from the collective there. So
That's
they
really
were
good,
one of the-
especially for a sport that is, 11.7 scholarships per team? Something
Yeah,
ridiculous
ridiculously
number.
underfunded.
Makes no sense.
They were one of the last team sports to get that kind of recognition. And don't quote me on who has it and who doesn't. I couldn't tell you. But it's great to see. Good news for them. Love that. Is there anything else you want to talk about with baseball before we move on to basketball?
No, I think I'm good. I just hoping for the sweep. Do you think, okay, what about this? Does Tech have to sweep? Or if they don't sweep, do they have to win the Big 12 tournament to make the playoffs? Or can they make it if they do a paltry 2-1 showing at home and then maybe win one game in Arlington? Do you think they would still stand a chance? I mean, I cannot get over how and we've hated RPI this whole season. But it's nice being on this side of it. It's the highest the RPI has been maybe all season. I'm not sure. But getting that win on Friday was massive and not something I don't think any of us really expected. And it was so nice to just kind of have that monkey off your back for the rest of the weekend. Kind of felt like you're playing with house money because I don't think anybody expected Tech to go up there and wreck shop or anything. But to just get that first win and get that out of the way and then see your RPI vault. I mean, it'll go down if you lose to Kansas at home, but man, I don't know. I don't know what the scenarios would be for Tech to be a quote unquote lock in the postseason.
I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. Because what I really want to do is I want to take the schedule this weekend and say, okay, what happens if Texas Tech wins all three? Do they move up at all? If they win the series but lose one, how far do they drop? If they lose two, how far do they drop? If they get swept, how far do they drop? Because like I said, you're not going to get any. You're not RPI for beating Kansas. You can even sweep them and probably not even move in the RPI. Because this would qualify, Kansas would qualify as a quad 3 opponent. They are in the 101 to 150 range. And they don't, the RPI doesn't differentiate like basketball does in net rankings, whether it's, home, neutral, or away, like how those, like it kind of breaks up a little bit. Well, quad 1 win, it's top 50 at home, but it's top 75 in neutral, top 100 on the road, whatever it is. I couldn't tell you. RPI, it doesn't matter. So losing one, like if you win the series, that one loss is going to hurt your RPI more than winning the other two games is going to help. I just don't know how much. So I would say, like, as much as you can, really, really need the sweep. I don't want to see you drop any further. Because I don't know what you can withstand, how far you can drop in the RPI and still make it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, maybe not fair, but the facts of the matter.
Yeah.
I
Because
think that's what we're looking at.
I don't know how much the conference tournament is going to be factored in, if any at all. And I don't want to rely on that, because you're coming in as a 6th seed. You're going to have an unfavorable matchup in the Big 12 tournament. Let me pull that bracket up real quick. So if you maintain as a 6th seed, you will take on the 3 seed, which is, you had that listed here. Is it Texas? Yeah, you would play Texas
Yes.
first.
Yep.
And then if you lost
Redemption.
that game,
Beat,
you
finally
lost
beat
that
them this
game,
year.
you would then face the loser of Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, if the standings stayed the same.
We ain't losing to Texas, brother. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that damn much right now. We ain't gonna lose them Longhorns.
If you beat Texas,
Win.
game 4 winner, you will face the game 3 winner. So the winner of the Oklahoma State, or the 2-7 game.
Probably OU. They're probably hitting their stride at a weird time like they have before.
Oh my God. Like, that's just ridiculous to think they made it all the way to the national championship series against Ole Miss, who also snuck in
Yeah.
to the regional.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with how well they played in their tournament.
Yeah. I just don't think, I don't know. Because you're an offensive team. You've played in this ballpark and you didn't have great offensive showing. It's not a great offensive ballpark for you. And it's not at home. So none of those things line up for Texas Tech doing well in the conference tournament. So I don't want you to have to rely on anything in Arlington. And I don't know how much that would get factored in. So anyways, with that, let's jump over to basketball real quick.
Okay.
Maybe. All right. With basketball, Michael, you got to commit. It's been a minute, but you got a commitment this past week from Warren Washington, big man out of Arizona State. Will transfer in. He is a senior, 7 feet 225, originally from California, Escondido, California. Played 4 years. Was he at 4 years at Arizona State? I can't tell for so sure. But this past year averaged just over 9 points, just under 7 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 1.8 blocks per game, and only 1.5 turnovers. So 9 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks a game. Give me that every night, please and thank you.
Yes, I will take it. I've seen some footage of him with some putback slams. A presence like that in the middle is something that Tech has missed since Tariq Owens, pretty much.
So speaking of Tariq Owens, I want to give you some comparables here. So he was 6'10", 205.
205, really?
205, and that may have been like end of season or like the padded, like he
Wow.
comes in, because he was I don't think he was even 200 pounds when he got here. At Texas Tech, he averaged, they don't do this very well, 8.7 points per game, 2.4 blocks per game, 6 rebounds a game.
So basically, you're trading 1 block for 1 rebound, almost,
and then 2 more points for Washington. So 1 more made bucket for Washington.
Interesting.
And then you're trading a block for a rebound. if you can
I've
expect
just missed that so much.
Tariq Owens type of presence and contribution to this team, holy crap, man.
I'm
That's all I can
looking
say.
forward to it. I'm excited to see McCaslin make an adjustment to the roster. Seth had a good post on Staking the Plains this week. And so with that, I do think that means that there are 9 confirmed guys on the team.
Okay. So you've got
with
technically 4 spots, but I think we heard there were
Yes.
going to be 3 filled and then 1 unfilled, so you can grab somebody at midterm, which has been something that we've seen Texas Tech do the past few years. You got Jalen Tyson from Texas that way. You got Kyron Lindsey from Georgia that way, because you had a spot mid-season open for them to come in.
Well, and I
So.
think of the spots that the 9 confirmed, there's still Kerwin Walton. I think the jury's still out on that. That's not exactly set in stone. Jason Jackson, I think he might be coming back or be coming. So there's with pretty much just running it down. It's Isaac, Steffi, McMillian, Washington, Williams, Jennings is back. That's pretty recent, I think. Lindsey, as you mentioned, Darian Williams, and then Warren Washington. Sorry, I should differentiate the two because Lamar Washington announced, I believe, this week as well that he's coming back. So I'm really excited about him making his way back. Darian Williams making his way back for sure. But there's still, like you said, some flux there. There's 9 guys at least on the team. McCaslin made some appearances, I think, last week, probably while we were recording, kind of try to extinguish some of the fires that were floating around on social media. I may have been partially responsible for some of it, but not on social media. But just, if on the podcast, we were kind of calling into question, especially last week, the lack of announcement. I think it was starting to get to me finally. But then I also said, what I'm going to say today is, if 2 weeks from now we don't know who's hired, then I'm going to come up with a way to spin how that's a good thing. He knows what he's doing. It's fine. He hasn't played a game yet. We got to give him some chance. And something you alluded to earlier, if he's that methodical in his coaching style, he may just be that methodical putting together a staff and a team. And it's just going to be a different pace from what we're used to. But no one's really used to anything because NIL has changed so much in such a short amount of time. And I think Beard and Adams were super quick on evaluations and super quick on getting guys coming for good and bad sometimes. And so we might have gotten used to that pace, and that's all we've known in this era. And now we've got a new guy here. Different pace, different thought process, different evaluation process. It's just going to take some time to get used to the rhythm of it. But I think, like he said, and like I think most of us believe, we're giving him a chance. I don't think anybody's, well, I hope not. I hope nobody's just beside themselves thinking, oh gosh, well, we have no chance. This is why are we going to play next year? Why even play? Why even try? So I think we're definitely not that far over into the spectrum, but we are kind of curious for some hiring dates, which I think something was alluded to today. So there might be something set in the next week, but man, I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, there was I don't know, like if it was just like we hope to have something done. But it was from Carlos Silva. I just saw the tweet.
That's right. I thought, man, it seemed pretty legit wherever it was from.
It was Tuesday morning. Texas Tech's first session of summer school starts 2 weeks from Tuesday. By that time, Grant McCaslin plans to have his charter staff in place for his first season as a Red Raiders men's basketball coach. And then I don't know where it's from, but in the Discord chat for basketball, there are names included on staff that have been put in place but not yet announced. None of those guys would fill that last assistant role just yet. These are other pieces of the staff, whether it's operations or video or that kind of stuff. So
The other thing I wanted to mention, bear with me. So the volleyball schedule was announced today.
yeah, and
And-
so it's. I know where you're going, and I'm going to tee it up real quick. It's not that we're going to talk about the volleyball team and what they're going to look like next year, but possibly as a format for what the schedule may look like, right?
Right. So it's, I'm not going to pretend to act like I know enough to talk with any sort of authority on Texas Tech volleyball, but one of the interesting things, what they were able to do, every single team next year. Now, I thought of this as we were starting to hit record, and I think I mentioned it to you. So all of the new Big 12 teams will play each other in 18 matches next year, which I think is excellent, because I know that there's probably not a way to really do that in every single sport and have it make sense. Texas Tech's not going to get to play every single team next year. This works for volleyball. Part of it might be because Oklahoma State does not have a volleyball program, so there's only 13 teams to deal with as opposed to 14 next year. But with that said, they did figure out a way for volleyball to play every single team. Now they're only playing OU and Texas once. They host OU for one game, and they go to Texas for one. Also, a lot of these are back-to-backs. So that's going to, that doesn't help things either on scheduling with basketball, because you're obviously not going to play 2 games at BYU on a Friday and a Saturday back-to-back. But it gives me some hope that, Texas Tech's not going to, we're only going to get to play 10 of the 14, or not 14, 10 of the 13 opponents next year. You're going to miss out on these 3. Sorry. So maybe there's a way they could figure out to bump that up. Hopefully get at least 12 in, or, maybe if they're willing to do stuff like, which was surprising to me, that Texas Tech was willing to only, quote unquote, only play OU or only play Texas once. And this shows how dumb I am about volleyball. Those 2 squads may be terrible and may not be, as high of a marquee game as what I would think. But if they're able to do something like this with volleyball, then hopefully they can do that with basketball. Maybe Tech just plays TCU once, or just plays Baylor once, but they get to have a home and home with UCF, or they get to have a home and home with BYU. Just something to kind of change it up. But I guess we'll find out. It gave me some hope, but it didn't really answer anything, because it is an apples to orange comparison. I know that. But they did try, and they succeeded, at least in this one sport, to get everybody play everybody at least once.
And it's going to be weird. One, because not every school has a volleyball team, but you're going to get these weird rotation schedules for this year, and it's going to all change again for the following year once Texas and Oklahoma are gone. But you're getting these 6 2-game series and then 6 single game matchups to get you 18 games. That, like I said, won't work in basketball because everybody's got a men's basketball program, right? But you'll have some kind of similar thing where you'll play a handful of teams twice and you'll play a handful of teams just once. So it's out there. There are solutions to be had to make the numbers work. We have heard a few times that the baseball schedule has been put together in a way that Tadlock has a schedule. He's mentioned seeing the schedule. But, as it's in the middle of the season right now, in the middle of this season, like he's not paying a whole lot of attention to it. And it's like, with how fluid the baseball schedule is, even, the week that you're playing somebody, it's not like set in stone, even a year out. So it's out there. So staff announcement for the basketball team coming soon. Schedule, I think you've got a great template to look at from the volleyball schedule that came out. You'll have a handful of teams you'll play twice, a handful of teams you'll just play once. Nothing new, but Big 12 basketball got even stronger by adding Houston. BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, like no slouches, but the best basketball conference in the country just got harder.
Yeah. Great.
I mean, because Houston was like a 1 seed and number 2 in the rankings for a lot of the season this past year, right? Like you just added
The last
2
2
games,
years.
2 games versus the Cougars to your schedule.
Yeah.
And you got to play Texas and you got to play Kansas. Like these are conference opponents.
Yes.
All right. I want to spend a few minutes on football, Michael. So you ready to jump over to football real quick?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. All right. So Big 12 team win totals over under came out recently, and we haven't talked about it yet, but I want to get your quick thoughts on it. I'm gonna give you over under for all these teams. Your first impression, Michael, over under as we go through them. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Top to bottom in terms of number of wins. Texas 9.5.
Under.
Oklahoma 9.5.
Under.
That's criminally high for Oklahoma. Like
For both of them. What the hell?
I can see Texas doing
Texas,
that.
it's just always that way. It's just always that way with Texas.
But Oklahoma, where they struggled to win 6 games last year.
Well, this ain't Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma, Spencer. Yeah, so
no,
under.
it's what's his name? Brent
Burnt vegetables.
Burnt vegetables. Kansas State 8.5.
Okay, all right. Let me specify.
Uh-oh.
Is 8.5? Would that include the Big 12 championship game?
I think these are regular season totals.
Regular season 8.5.
So, like, are they going to go 8-4 or 9-3?
Well, because I was so strongly on the under on the first two, I'm going to take the over here.
TCU 7.5. Why is that funny?
Because they just came off a national championship game. And the line is, will they convincingly make a bowl game?
Yeah. Will they hit 7 wins? Will they hit 8?
Dugan Duggan's gone, right?
Yep.
Under.
Texas Tech 7.5.
Over.
Baylor 7.5.
It's about that time for them to do something stupid, isn't it?
It will be an odd year. As in, like,
Yeah, in more ways, I know
whatever,
what you mean.
whatever reason, like they perform better in odd years.
I'm going to go under because I feel like I've got a lot of high win totals.
Kansas 6.5.
I mean, I hear they're getting some experts out there to do some plumbing. Gonna have a good functioning flow at the stadium. I don't even know what that means. Okay, what was it? 6.5?
6.5 for the Jayhawks of Kansas.
Lord Almighty.
Football wins 6.5.
I want to get into the weeds on this, and who do they have? Are they playing?
We're not doing
Raging
schedule
Cajuns?
breakdowns just yet. No, we're just
Are
initial
they
impressions.
hosting Coastal Carolina during
I don't think that would
hurricanes.
help.
Is it during hurricane season? Let's go with. I'm going to go under. I think last year was just kind of Yeah. I'm going to go under.
Oklahoma
they could still win
State.
6 games.
They could. Oklahoma State 6.5.
Under. I think we finally
Broken the
is it.
Cowboys.
yeah.
UCF 6.5.
Well, they're going to have some trouble.
Are they?
I think so.
Hold
I
on,
think they're gonna have some trouble in this
I
conference. No,
said-
you're over there
I
looking
s-
at schedules.
I said we weren't going to do it, but I'm going to look at Central Florida's schedule
Damn it. Okay.
because
You got me
I
on
think
the fly here. These are terrible. Someone's going to go replay these in
Well,
November next year.
we're gonna take this down. Okay, so their schedule this year: home versus Kent State,
Oh,
in Boise at Boise State,
L.
home versus Villanova.
They have a football team?
Yeah, they're like Division II.
Well, crap. They're already a third of the way there.
Okay, here's where it gets real, man. In Manhattan at Kansas State.
Okay.
L.
Yeah.
Home versus Baylor. That could be
Dub.
really fun.
That could be a dub.
At Kansas.
Should be a dub.
At
but
Oklahoma.
No.
After a bye week, they're in Norman at Oklahoma.
Could be a dub.
Home versus West Virginia for homecoming.
Oh, man, okay. A lot of these
That's
feel
a
like
dub.
50-50. A lot of these feel like
No,
50-50 games to me.
Not West Virginia, man.
You
They're
don't think
trash.
Neil Brown's going to come in there and
No.
just own Orlando?
At Cincinnati.
Oh, that's an L.
Home versus Oklahoma State.
Dub.
At Texas Tech.
L.
Home versus Houston.
Dub.
Okay, so
I think. No, maybe not. I'm not so sure about that one.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. You picked 6 wins.
Yeah. But that's still the under, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. We spent way too much time. BYU at 6.
Over.
Iowa State 5.5.
Under, just to be a hater.
Cincinnati 4.5.
Over, because they'll beat Iowa State.
Houston 4.5.
Over, because they'll beat Iowa State.
West Virginia 4.5.
Under, because someone's got to be under.
Someone's got to lose all these games.
Yeah. Someone's got to lose these games. I want everybody to win.
I don't know. The newcomers, man, like again, we just went through UCF schedule and like there were a lot of like games I thought I would have a better feeling for. Is like, actually, I don't know. That could be a really good game.
Well, you know, the big
or
thing
a
for me
really
last year
close
was
game.
the big thing for me last year was just completely taking a dump on TCU coming into the season.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
they rattled off 12 straight.
yeah. So, grain of salt, everybody.
Yeah, and this is also in May. So, all right. So for me, Texas under, Oklahoma way under, Kansas State under, TCU way under, Texas Tech over, Baylor over, Kansas under, Oklahoma State under, UCF over, BYU. I haven't looked at their schedule. I would probably lean over. I think they're probably better, closer to 7 than a 5. Iowa State
Yes.
under, Cincinnati under, Houston over, West Virginia under. And maybe I'm
we
giving
didn't differ on a whole bunch.
maybe I'm giving Donovan Smith too much credit, but
I think we differed on the newcomers basically. I think we differed on UCF, Houston, and who was
Cincinnati.
No, West Virginia maybe.
Yeah.
That's not one of the newcomers.
All right. And then specifically through Texas Tech schedule, without going scores or like whatever, How does Texas Tech get to 8 wins, Michael? At Wyoming,
Dub.
home versus Oregon, dub. Let's go, brother.
Okay, dub.
Home versus Tarleton State,
Dub.
at West Virginia,
Dub.
home
That's 4 in a
versus
row.
Houston. I think you go 5 in a row. I think you can go 5 in a row. I think 4-1 is your floor here.
Let's do it. Let's go 5 in a row.
At Baylor. This is where it gets interesting. You got an interesting little stretch here. At Baylor.
I'm going to put a loss on that one.
Home versus Kansas State.
Loss.
At BYU.
I'm running out of games, aren't I?
No. You got plenty of games left. I think this is a
I
win.
think they'll be up to go. Yeah, they'll be up for that one. That's a win.
Thursday night, home versus TCU.
Win.
At Kansas.
Win.
So there's 8.
That's 8. That's 8.
You got 2
I've hit
more
8.
left. Home versus UCF.
Inexplicable loss, apparently.
On the road at Texas after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, road loss is possible. Okay, going back and thinking this through, I would trade BYU and UCF.
So you think you're probably more likely to win the home game of those two and
Yes.
beat UCF at home and lose to BYU on the road.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I don't want to say Tech's going to lose in Austin for their last game there. I don't want to say that, but then I also don't want to say we're going to win 9 games.
I will. I'll say it.
Someone's got to say it.
Well, because I'm also taking like a big swing here in game 2 and saying you're going to win the Oregon game.
That's the one I'd probably trade. That's the one I'd trade. I would trade. Tech loses a close one to Oregon game 2, but they win in Austin. Final game of the season, go 8-4. There we go. I've come up with it. I've done it.
Okay.
You're welcome, everyone. I'm going to be in Vegas in June, so
You're gonna put any scratch down?
Going to make some futures. Absolutely, I am. Great
Okay.
ideas.
You ready to get to some questions?
Oh man, this is
The
good stuff here.
question?
Yes,
Okay.
the question.
Yeah, we gotta get rolling here pretty soon. All right, let's do it. All right, so this tweet came from Texas Sports Life, and we've talked about it a little bit. And it's not new to today, excuse me. It says only 2 can stay, the rest got to go. Which 2 are you keeping? Dr. Pepper, HEB, Shiner Bock, Bluebell, Buc-ee's, Dave & Buster's, Six Flags, Whataburger, Pluckers.
How should we do this? Should we go?
Do you want to do like
through
an immediate 3? You'd be okay with cutting?
Okay, yeah. All right, you go first.
All right, immediate 3: Shiner, Dave & Buster's, Six Flags.
My immediate 3 would be Pluckers, Six Flags, Buc-ee's.
All right, my next 3. There's some thought here. Pluckers, Buc-ee's, HEB.
Ooh, dropping HEB already. Not even going to make the final 3.
Well, because I'm weighing what we have locally, and I think you've got a pretty good option here with United,
That's very fair.
which is also part of Albertsons, which I know is not Texas, but it is in Texas. You can get Albertsons across the state.
Okay, so my next 3 would be Dave & Buster's, Shiner,
Yeah, they're better beers.
Oh man, and Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
So I've never been to a Pluckers, so whatever.
But
Dave and
you are
Buster's.
you're involved in the investment group that will bring Lubbock's first Pluckers location to town.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we are shadow investors in the STP Pluckers franchise.
We've got the
Um,
location already. It's the old Dion's on University and across from campus. We're there, man.
I
We've
think
got
that's
it.
already
We're under
something else
contract.
now.
No,
Is it
it's gonna be Pluckers here pretty soon.
Okay.
Run by the Steak and Plains Media Group.
Yeah, because we really know how to run restaurants.
You don't. It's what you pay the franchise fee for. They give you a.
So, just a background: Pluckers never been. Six Flags haven't been since I was like 9.
I don't like
Bucky's I've been in once and had a soggy taco, and they hate West Texas. They absolutely freaking hate West Texas. There's going to be 2 Bucky's in Kentucky before there's one in West Texas. So that makes a lot of sense. Dave and Buster's. It's great that Lubbock has one, but it took 43 years for them to get here. So not in a big rush to go there. Shiner. I like Shiner a lot. Shiner's a good beer. There are quite a few beers I would pick ahead of a Shiner. Dr. Pepper, same thing. Like Dr. Pepper quite a bit, but there are sodas, several, that I would typically pick before Dr. Pepper. So this is how we've gotten to this point.
So if you're going strictly Texas soda and beer, would you go like Big Red and Lone Star?
Strictly Texas, absolutely Big Red. Yes, you nailed that. I don't want to be like overly like Real Ale. I think Real Ale is my favorite Texas beer, and they have a bunch of different ones that I enjoy. I think that that they have that Pin Setter that's kind of a nice lighter one. They have an APA that I like. That Real Axis IPA they have is good. The Fireman's 4 is good. I would pick Real Ale something. That would be my Texas beer. Oh, their Oktoberfest is probably the best Oktoberfest out of anybody.
So I do think it's interesting though that we agreed on 2 of the 3.
We did.
Of the remaining 3, but only 2 of them can stay. So my top 3, which I know is only 2. My top 3 are Dr. Pepper, Bluebell, Whataburger. I was surprised that Whataburger made it into your top 3. It could still be the 3rd spot and still get cut.
It's it's a possibility.
Because that would mean you're taking HEB and right.
I may be keeping Whataburger up there for dramatic effect. I don't know.
Michael is the noted Whataburger hater in the group.
Recent. It's a recent.
So,
it's a heel turn.
I started explaining the rewards update to Samantha, and we were coming home. Like we had lunch with Grayson at school yesterday. They were like, let's just go ahead and grab lunch and then eat with them. And we all went and grabbed. Well, we had Chick-fil-A delivered, and then we took that up there because just the time that we had to do everything. On the way back, we were talking about because the other option that's close that we is or Whataburger, and we talked about Whataburger, and I was like, oh hey, so I told you about the rewards that you have to spend $100 to get a burger, $160 to get a salad. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, it's ridiculous. $160 for a salad.
Yes.
Okay. I love Pluckers, man. It's been a hot minute since I've been there, but I've also, part of me just getting old, like issues of the past 6 months, tears me up, dude. Like it puts me in so much pain. Like I have a hard time sleeping at night. I've cut way back on, like I can't even do like super hot wings anymore with just, so the allure to wings has changed for me a little bit. It's got to be like a special, not a special occasion, but something where like I'm prepared. I've got my acid reducer on deck.
Yeah, you can't just wing it for wings. You've got to be prepared.
And be okay with just getting like the buffalo sauce and not like the hot buffalo or
The medium buffalo.
yeah, which is sad. Because like
Medium.
going to Wingstop, it was like I would get almost exclusively atomic.
Good Lord.
I can't
I
even
think I
imagine
got
what
it
that would do.
once. I got it once, and I was like, "This is not enjoyable for me." I am
Loved it, man. I loved it.
because I was mistakenly thinking, I think I'm getting better at eating. Not better.
So, Dr. Pepper, Bluebell, Whataburger for me. Top two, probably Dr. Pepper and Whataburger. I'm not a huge ice cream fan, and you can get good ice cream with other makers. So, my only two would be Whataburger and Dr. Pepper.
So my top three wound up with HEB, Whataburger, Bluebell. I really don't know why I've done this to myself. I'm kind of leaning back on what Rob said on his show. I could almost cut them all. But I do like HEB quite a bit. The only reason I'm saying
He copped out and said you can get Dr. Pepper and Bluebell and all like Shiner at HEB. So I just need HEB and I cut the other ones. It's like that's not how this works, man.
No, you would be if you walked into HEB, you would be shocked if you picked up Shinerbach and put it in your cart. That's how this hypothetical would go.
Yeah.
And if you try to drink it, the beer itself would shock you. If someone handed you a Shinerbach, you would immediately have to pour it on the ground and leave the premises. So I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna keep Whataburger. As crazy as it sounds, I'm gonna keep them. I have faith that maybe they'll come back around. Quit trying to get me to buy hats and flip flops or whatever the hell else they have.
Graduate
And I'm going to
gear.
keep I really like HEB.
Do you go often?
Solid place. Quite a bit, yes. We switched it up a lot, but the last few times I've done the grocery shopping personally, I went to HEB. Me and the rest of Lubbock, Texas.
So one, we
Still
have a
that way.
United that's closer than HEB. So if we're running, like if we're going in for something specific that we don't either like the quality at Walmart or we can't get at Walmart, then I'm going to United because it's even closer. Most of my hate and for HEB came out of it was early when they opened up. Their online pickup service was so atrociously bad. Like we sat there for an hour waiting for them to bring groceries out. And we were stopping people, like workers, like, hey, like there's a huge line backed up on the Quaker here with people trying to get into the pickup area. They have only a certain number of spots on the side of their building for pickup. Nobody's moving because no orders are coming out. Yeah. Like I'm not doing that again. And then we noticed anything that they made themselves, like if it was HEB brand, or if it was like freshly made in the store or whatever, super heavy on fresh onions. And I'm not a fresh onion guy. So
There you go.
like beans and guac and I don't know. It's just stuff like you wouldn't expect. I'm not talking about like their tortillas or whatever. I'm talking about like their guacamole or whatever. It just had overwhelming onion flavor. I'm just couldn't do it. Not bad. I would just prefer. I would take United over HEB. All right, let's wrap this up with what we learned. Oh, we're going deep into the night here. Wee hours in the morning. Not quite, but wrap this up and then, do what we learned and then wrap this up. What do you say?
Do it.
All right, I've got a quick couple of updates behind the dish. We are in the final days of Little League Baseball in Lubbock, Texas. The regular season ends on Thursday. I've got 2 more games Thursday night. And then the first of the city tournaments begin on this Friday. Or Saturday. Shoot. Whatever day the 20th is. Anyways, and it starts with the oldest group, and and then it works its way down to the coach pitch or farm, coach pitch, all that kind of stuff. I was talking to my assigner, the umpire tonight. We were up at the fields together. We were on different fields, but and I mentioned like, hey, I didn't like it snuck up on me. Didn't even realize like the regular season ends this week, and the tournaments came up, and he didn't mention wanting to schedule me for games. And I was like, oh man, like maybe I wasn't as good at that. And maybe it's fine. Like I'm understand. I'm not bad, but I may be an acquired taste as an
There you
umpire.
go.
Last night I had one game, and it was the American Nationals game. Yeah, American National Division. And it wasn't like what they said was untrue, and it wasn't like it was directed in a negative fashion. But one of the coaches for one of the teams to their batters were saying, "Hey, this," because I was the umpire behind the plate last night. Small zone, so don't let him call strikes on you. If he's calling strikes on you, it's because like they're in the zone. Like out looking, it's because you weren't doing something right. So I was like, well, I mean, I guess that's okay. Like I was trying like, how do I feel about him saying that? I was like, stop listening. It doesn't matter. Like I need to focus on doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, it would be so hard to just be like, well,
I was like,
maybe I should. Maybe the zone is too small. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I would be in my head so badly.
because he said that. He said it to his batters though, so it wasn't like a negative thing. He just like swing the bat, which is usually the outcome you get when you have a bigger zone too. Like you get batters swinging. Anyways, so that's coming up. The umpire. He said, "Hey, what is your availability starting whenever like the city tournament starts?" Like, he does want me to umpire. So that's good news. Still working on a more aggressive and generous zone, even for the older kids, because small zones do nobody any favors. Last night though, had two things come up. One, there was a fair ball, and it was confirmed in the field and by the coach that it went in favor of. The batter smokes this ball into the dirt right in front of the plate, but he like the spin he had on it and the weight, like the swing he had on it, smokes it into the dirt, and then it's got this huge swing to it. So it swings out, like it looks like it's going into left field. It's going between third and shortstop. Outward swing to it, and it ends up landing in foul territory. I called it fair because as it hit the ground, it then becomes a bounding ball. It's a ground ball, even though it hit the ball like this is what the baseball did. And like I saw it happen, my partner saw it happen, the other coach didn't. The team that it benefited saw it this way too. It's like I don't know whether he was whatever. But with a ground ball, fair foul is determined by where the ball comes to rest. If it's before, either where it comes to rest or where it's touched. If it passes the bag, it is where does it pass the bag? So if it passes third base, does it pass the bag over or in fair territory, or does it pass it in foul territory? So from my angle, I don't have a great angle over the bag because I'm not 60 feet away. Yeah. Nobody is. But from where I'm standing, like I've got my belt buckle on the foul line. I'm looking down the line. This ball is swinging. I'm seeing it go foul. And I was like, don't call it foul because it's going to land foul. Don't call it foul because it's going to land foul. It hit the ground in front. You know, it's like, I know it's a fair ball. I called it fair. The visiting team fans don't argue with it. You called that fair? And I was like, yeah, it hit the ground and it passed third base in fair territory, landed foul. But that it doesn't matter where it landed. It's where it passed the base.
Right.
And he's like, but it did foul. And I think I was telling like it was a bounding ground ball. It hit the ground first. It wasn't a line drive. I think he was saying it was a line drive. Because no, if it was a line drive, that would have been foul. If it was a ball, that would have been fair. And that's where we differed. And it's like, well, fair foul is a judgment call. Judgment calls are fine. I can't overturn this, even if I was wrong. You just got to live with it. And then he's like, well, then you owe me one. I was like, that's not how this works, brother. Even if I thought I messed up, I wouldn't then give you a minute. It'd be another call that I got wrong. This one on purpose.
Then you're going to have the other coach coming out and obviously going, hey.
Like, what
are you doing?
Anyways.
You owe me one now. Yeah. No.
Well, because he came out, hey, can you get help? Which like, can you confer with your partner? I was like, well, he doesn't call fair foul. And with where he was out there in shallow left, like in what we call C position, behind shortstop. He doesn't know where the ball went over the bag or not. He doesn't see it. And I talked to him after the game. I was like, hey, on that fair ball, because he came out twice to talk to me about it. I was like, hey, you saw it hit the ground, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, good, because you saw it. The other team said like this is something this kid does all the time. He smokes it right into the ground, right in front of home plate. It just, with the curve on it, it was wild. Anyways, so there's that. Going yard, only thing I got, hold on. Going yard, remind me. The team that complained about this fair foul, they ended up winning the game. The next inning, they hit a no-doubter grand slam to tie the game. They was tied then at six runs apiece. Like,
yeah, so nobody's thinking about the foul ball anymore.
Yeah, he hit it, and I look up, I was like, holy smokes, that may be the farthest ball I've seen hit on this field. And I'm just looking like I have a good feeling it's going out, but I'm watching the outfielder. He's like running at it. He's running hard. I was like, don't hit the fence, don't hit the fence. And then he stops and looks up. It's like, that ball is still like 20, 30 feet above his head. I was like, holy shit, dude. And then when that coach that
massacred it.
Yeah, he's like, man, I try to be fair, and I try to be like not rooting for the teams. The team that ended up winning was not a Cooper Little League team. It was a Western Little League team. The coach that had a problem with McCall was the Western team. And he was because he was the head coach. He was in the third base box as he was crossing the field to go back after all that happened. After the grand slam, I was like, dude, that kid smoked it. Like I was complimenting him and his players. Like, that was like just fun. I gave the guy, like the batter, like I dapped him up and gave him some knuckles.
There you go. There you go.
They threw the ball, so they had guys
impartial.
Well, I was congratulating him.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's fine. It's a home run. You don't see a lot of these.
Oh, it's
that's
how it starts.
They threw the ball back in to the field of play, and then center fielder threw the ball like from basically the fence into the opposing team's dugout, and said, "Hey, you hit it, you get it. Like, you get to keep that ball." Anyways, going yard. So one massive home run. That was a thing to see last night. And then I planted grass. I've got grass growing. I've got Bermuda grass coming up, and I'm excited for it, man.
Well, okay, my going yard's very quick. I did get some sprinkler work done today, which was great. And as you and I both predicted, the guy was here for maybe an hour. And he did a lot of stuff. He messed with like 10 sprinkler heads. Raised some of them, replaced some of them, changed the housing or the inside on some of, he did various things on at least 10 sprinkler heads and was gone. The only catch is that he cut the AT&T fiber line to our house.
Of course he did. Of course.
But it is not his fault, because AT&T ruined 3 or 4 sprinklers putting in that fiber line in the first place. And they buried it like 3 inches deep. So they suck. Not my sprinkler guy. And so now I had to have AT&T come out to fix that problem. Guy was here 2 hours, but now I have 300 MBS internet, which I've been paying for a while, but I've never actually gotten. But it didn't really bother me that much. But for the first time ever, I got over 300 something megabits per second download on Wi-Fi today. Pretty pumped about that.
It's a game changer. The thing that like I want to get back to AT&T is because they have the same down as they do up, where Optimum/Suddenlink I have and 20 up.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Doesn't
I
sound like
was
that much, but
getting
but when I have to
almost
upload
200 up.
podcast, or if
Yeah.
we're gonna play games on almost every day, like the upload speed is a deal breaker.
Yeah, so that's a mess because now I've got to, from my alley all the way around to the side of my house, just a fiber laying in the yard. And with all this rain, who knows how many times I've got to mow around it before someone comes out to bury it again, and hopefully they don't screw up sprinklers again. I don't even know what to do with this. I've thought about trying to bury it myself, or just like staple it around the fence, or I don't know. I don't want somebody to
Nice.
come out and do this again. Anyway, that's my going yard. Quickly though, the only thing I wanted to bring up, I tweeted about it earlier this week. Spencer, are you familiar with the cocktail, the Old Fashioned?
I'm familiar.
Okay. Have you seen, and this isn't new, this has been around for several years, smoked Old Fashioned? Have you seen that on menus?
Yeah, where they'll burn something and they'll turn the glass over top of it, so they'll capture the smoke in the glass.
They either do that, or they kind of do like Steven Reichland likes to use those little smoke machines,
Yeah.
where I think they like put some smoke in this little container with the cocktail and then just let it sit for a little bit. And so then you have that smoke flavor. I'm just here to tell everyone,
I don't get the allure of a smoky drink, but go on.
Well, I've tried this 2 or 3 times because they sold me on the gimmick, and they're awful. It just tastes like a campfire. I don't understand it. All they do is ruin good bourbon. If you want a smoky Old Fashioned, just get Scotch. Get some really peaty Lafrague or whatever the heck. I don't even know how you say that one. The one that tastes like an ashtray. Get one of those and make an Old Fashioned with it. Just don't bother with the smoke. Just use Scotch. I don't get it. It's so it almost tastes like tobacco. It's just
Maybe
really
that's the
unappealing.
allure.
I think
Maybe
it's-
the
yeah, I
tobacco
mean-
users are their audience, man.
Maybe so. I just think it's another way to add $3 extra to an already almost perfect cocktail by putting carbon in it, giving you cancer. So, okay, smoked Old Fashioned. That's it. That's all I had. They're just not worth it. They're terrible.
So you mentioned just the price of it. That reminded me of like that trick up the name of their position, mixologists, baristas. Like no,
Sure.
you pour drinks. They
Well,
they
but
make
the
it like a
mixologist- okay.
But well, hold on.
I'll
Well,
defend the mixologists because they're the ones coming up with the recipes. They're the ones
they may-
coming up with what works and what doesn't.
then maybe that is just out of ignorance. But like the people that make it a performance. No, you're combining a few different liquids into a glass. Like it's not a dance. It's not a routine. You're not on a step team. You're not throwing bottles and shakers and lids and filters and sieves. Like just you're pouring out of one glass into another, stirring it, handing it to the buyer. I don't get the performance aspect of it. Besides, look at my drink. Look how cool my drink is when he's making it. Look how cool it is. I'm okay spending $25 to see somebody dance in front of me
Spencer,
to mix up a drink. Would have cost me $6 otherwise.
someone should just cut that out. No context. Spencer saying he's willing to spend $25 to see somebody dance in front of him. But I do think I can obviously tell you've never seen Cocktail. The Tom Cruise movie, where that's pretty
No.
much all it's about. Fun fact: neither have I.
All right. The last thing I had, Michael, have you ever heard of the publication?
No, I was trying to Google Evermore before, because I could tell that's what you're going to talk about, and I was like, "What is that? That's Taylor Swift's new album? Is that some Edgar Allan Poe stuff?"
It is
His
a
was
Texas,
Nevermore.
is a Texas Tech publication. It is in its infancy. This version I'm holding is number 4. It's a monthly, maybe it's quarterly. It's got to be quarterly because it
Is
started.
it done by
after this.
Texas Tech?
It is done from the College of Media and Communications. That's why you don't get it. As I was a graduate of this college. Well, no, I'm not saying you don't understand it. I'm saying you don't. They send it to alumni of the college. It is a fantastic public. If you're not a graduate or a student of the College of Media Communication, you're missing out. This thing is a
Cool.
work of art, dude.
Yeah,
like I said,
it is.
with one, this illustration on the front and back was done by one of their one of the artists on staff here. The stories are in here. I was reading an article on the song, like the history of like how Texas Tech got their school song for like 20 minutes today. It was fascinating. I want to tell it to you really quickly. Do you know? Well, one, I want to ask you: do you know how Texas Tech got its school song?
I do not know this.
So if you don't know, it was a years long contest where they were taking in submissions from anybody and everywhere and getting an official school song. When the Texas Technological College was formed, they had a school song. What it was an anthem written by first President Horn, called "Oh College Mother Beautiful," and it was set to the tune of "America the Beautiful." So it was like the lyrics were original, but the song was not. And to have an actually original school song, they're like, well, we're going to take submissions, and they held out for years. So, their first, school song came out in 1925. It wasn't until 1930 that they got the Matador song that we know it. It was written by a transfer student who had joined Robert Clarence Marshall Jr. 20th birthday, transferred in from Hillsborough Junior College, and he picked Texas Tech because a neighbor had enrolled at Tech and reported liking it. And that's how he ended up at Texas Tech.
Word of
he
mouth.
He gets to Texas Tech, hears of this competition. He's like, that sounds like something I could be down for. Grabs a pencil and paper, goes into a classroom in what is now the administration building, and through a few hours of sketching out lyrics, gets a rough draft, takes it to the School of Music, and say, hey, here's what I've got. He and the dean kind of go through it a few times. He sets it to a song he claims was familiar but couldn't place it. Ended up being the fight song from the game, which had recently been copyrighted. So they had to make enough changes into it to make it eligible for a new copyright. But the lyrics of the he was announced as the winner of the competition, written in 1st, 1930. That story's in the Evermore. I didn't even know about any of that until today.
Well, since you started telling me about this, I've already subscribed. I guess I should get one next printing, but I have immediate access to issue 1 right now. I'm scrolling through it right now. And man, this is incredible.
So if you go to
there's
so
many cool stories in here, and just the imagery, everything you've said, everything you've already pointed out. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't know about this.
If you go to .eu/Evermore, you can subscribe. It's free. You put in your name, your address, you hit submit. Issues 1 through 3 are available for download. You can go through the first few. They have playlists for the publications. The issue 4 playlist. It's Hard to Be Humble, Mac Davis. In the Ghetto by Mac Davis. Oh, they're all Mac Davis songs on this one. So I don't need to tell you Mac Davis. In the Ghetto, Texas in My Rearview Mirror. Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me. Rock and Roll with a Little Touch of Love, and I Believe in Music. So if you are also interested, you can go subscribe for future issues of Evermore, today.ttu.edu/. I'm not involved in this production whatsoever. I would like to be, but it's a student production led by professionals there at the school. Ed Young, creative lead Armando Godinez, design Veronica Medina, photographers Ashley Rogers, Justin Rex, contributors Lucy Greenberg, Alan Ramsey, Frank, Michaela Yarbrough, research Patrick Hutchinson, Glennis Young. They've got special thanks to the people at Southwest Collection and Special Collections Library, Matt Duke, and President Lawrence Skubanek. All right. So that's what I had for you on Evermore from What Do We Learn? I got my new edition just a couple days ago. I was just going through it. It is a fantastic production, publication, free from the College of Media and Communications. I would highly recommend, if you're not a student or a graduate of that college, subscribe, and you will be on the receiving end of a great Texas Tech magazine every quarter. All right. So that'll do it for us on the 23 Personnel Podcast. We talked about baseball. You need the series win, preferably the sweep this weekend versus Kansas. Talked about basketball. Staff announcement incoming, right? Like we've got names of staff members holding out to see that last assistant. Recruiting news. The roster's coming together. You got the commitment from Warren Washington football. Very quickly go through the schedule and the over-unders. So all that. We'll be back next week. For Michael, I'm Spencer. We'll catch you guys next time.